A world embracing emotional intelligence. That's the world we're working towards. That's our vision. And then on Monday, I would go to the coffee kitchen with a bunch of guys working in the energy sector, cool people, but they really couldn't make anything of what I was telling from this coaching world.
Where is the friction happening?
I don't have an identity issue with being a coach or a trainer, but I have an identity issue with throwing out this content and saying, oh, look, guys, I'm the guy.
What is the worst thing that the engineering world could think about you that frightens you?
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.
How cool would it be if potential clients immediately get you? They know what you stand for and what value you can bring. This is the kind of challenge Julika Franke is helping coaches and experts with. Picking the right target group, positioning your brand, communicating your value. And after a deep dive into Julika's value equation concept on the last episode, we are getting hands-on today. Julika is coaching me on my new role as a coach trainer in the metaFox Inner Journey certification program. And as it so often goes with coaching conversations, of course, it didn't go as we planned. Instead of setting clear business objectives using Julika's Business Hub, Julika coached me on, my imposter syndrome. Questions like, how can I credibly train coaches without even having a psychology degree? Or how can I resolve my fear of judgment from old colleagues? But interestingly, the answers to these questions for me actually lay in my clear positioning, looking at what experience I can bring to this role and connecting it with a clear mission and vision statement. So if this kind of imposter syndrome sounds familiar, or if you're curious about your personal branding, I'm sure you can draw some parallels from listening to me and apply them to your own situation as a coach or trainer. Enjoy. How does it look like if I'm a coach and now I start collaborating with you on reworking my business setup?
I follow a Business Hub approach. That means that I provide one document and I call it the Business Hub. So in this case, it's Tobi's Business Hub. And basically all the ideas that we are developing, all the frameworks, etc., they live in this one document. And for me, that is very important because in other coaching settings, I saw either there is no document at all, or there are flying emails around or different documents. And so what we are really doing is we create something that can be used for content creation, for website text, for everything. So there is really something that is created there. And the different stages that I'm working through with my clients are built in this. I work with Google Docs in tabs. And probably we will see that in a minute. But this helps us structure the whole process. And at the beginning, we always start with the expert profile and the goal and vision. So where does the coach want to be in 3, 6, 12 months? We always need this vision first in order to see, okay, how fast do we need to go? What are the right methods to bring him to this point? And we start from there.
Really cool. And today we are going to hop into a small demo experiment to work on my positioning. To what extent is that typical, or who would be a typical expert, a typical client of yours that you'd be working with usually?
So your situation is a little atypical in the sense that you are a founder in a bigger company. Normally, I'm working with solopreneurs, and we are readjusting or remodeling a little bit your role within that company. The normal type of client I'm working with is either right from the coaching institute and saying, well, okay, until now I was employed. Now I took a break. I did this coaching certificate and now I want to become self-employed. That is one possibility. Another possibility is they are founding their own consultancy, for example, being employed before, for example, in a big company. That is very often as well. Or they are in the coaching business since 20 years already and just want to readjust. But normally it's very small structures. So you are atypical in different ways, but I think still we will see a lot how the work works and people will take a lot out of it also for their own positioning and profile.
Yeah. So basically, your business hub is designed to help my positioning, my profile in my work as a solopreneur expert, solopreneur coach and I think we can also demo that today, because maybe transitioning into that now already, our situation at metaFox and my situation as a co-founder of metaFox is right now that we are mostly a product business. However, this product business originates, of course, also from our own practice as workshop facilitators. And in a way, we are going back to the roots in that regard, because this year we have launched a inner journey program, which is basically a further education for coaches or all kinds of practitioners, sometimes also leaders or people working in the HR field, to work with our products and also more broadly with the frameworks we address in our products. So at metaFox, we have tons of different card sets that help you finding the right words for emotions, describing your vision, to describe resources, strengths, values. That's the sort of products that we do. And obviously, these products, they are best experienced. It's hard to actually teach the work with our products without actually hopping into that experience and then going also into the client's shoes and actually experiencing the journey that your client can go through, facilitated by these products. And in that sense, I would say me as a founder, as an entrepreneur, I'm also going back into trainer, coach, expert shoes. So I think we can work on my profile, my personal brand as a co-founder, yes, but also as a expert in that field, training other coaches, which still feels weird to me to say, but that's in a way where I want to go.
Great. At the beginning, I always ask a few questions, and I will do that with you as
Yes.
well, right? And I will write some things down because this is how I think, so don't be surprised. So first of all, perhaps let me understand a little bit better. I mean, I know the products of metaFox, but what is your goal with all this inner journey program? So you want to just sell more cards, put it simply? Or this is more kind of a mission-driven thing, this inner journey program? Or why is that?
I think there's two aspects to it. On the one hand, most people who buy our picture cards, for example, they simply use them as a warm-up in the beginning of a workshop or in the beginning of a coaching session. It's like this classic, you spread the cards and then you ask your client, your participants, which picture describes best how you're here today, how you're doing, how the last weeks were, etc. But you can do much more than that. You can go much deeper, working with one single card over a 2-hour session, basically. And I think in order to really communicate that value, get that value more out into the world, people need training, or we want to offer training how to do that. And then the business aspect of it, the entrepreneurial side, I would say not so much selling more cards, but having an offer that is higher value. So we sell our cards between 30 and 50 euros, let's say. And by offering a further education, we would also have a product that can be sold for, let's say, between 500 and 5,000 euros.
Okay, so the training in itself is the new product launch in a way.
Yeah.
And the cards are the means or the basis, the foundation on which you build the training.
Exactly.
And now switching to your role. So you are the founder. At some point, you decided at one kitchen table, I don't know, I'm just fantasizing, that you want to create nice looking picture cards? Or how can I imagine that?
Yes,
How was your role at the early stages?
Yeah, I'm the co-founder together with Max and also Max's wife, Chrissy, and also my wife, Joanna. And we've been working together already since a long time, also pre-metaFox in a European student NGO. That's the context in which we met, that facilitates complementary education for engineering students. So basically everything that you don't learn as an engineering student, communication, leadership, group dynamics, these sorts of things, that's the things we've been dealing with that NGO. And that was a super powerful experience because it gave us this first sense of starting something together, setting up an organization which needs to acquire members, acquire partners who fund these events, etc. But also, of course, getting from the engineering studies into this psychology field. And then it also organically evolved. Max said from right at the beginning, let's build a product and do e-commerce. I was a bit hesitant with just doing e-commerce. That's how I saw it back then. And one of the products that basically stuck of all the things we tried were picture cards, because that's something we had already worked with in this context of being a student NGO trainer. So it was kind of an obvious thing to do. And that's how over the years we evolved to be this picture card company.
Yeah, great. So I just do some remarks on a meta level so our listeners understand what is happening here right now. So when I'm asking a question like this and asking, okay, so how have you become who you are today? Then, for example, what you just mentioned to me, that you and Max, you worked together before, that, for example, tells me already that you are quite a team player and that you are able to do some team things together over a longer period of time, something like that. Then what I also learned is that, and read your annotations before, and this is how I work normally as well. So I get some information from my client before, and then I get some add-on information in the conversation as we are doing it now. What I learned in the text that you sent me and what you just said is that you have a strong idealism. So that it was a student NGO, and here we go.
Yeah,
So
last night, basically, I filled out 2 elements in your business hub, right? I filled in this vision and goal, a few paragraphs here, and then also an expert profile where you had asked me about what are my trainings and certifications, experience, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I learned a lot about you, but now I try to ask a few more questions and also just get it verbally from you is very different. I can feel the energy. Yeah. How are you talking? Where are you hesitant? Where stuff like that. So, for example, what is interesting as well, and I know that we are trying to modulate your new role in metaFox. What is interesting to me now is that you said, okay, from the very beginning on, you were hesitant to only do e-commerce. And now the time has come. You are not only doing e-commerce, you are having another product, which is the inner journey, right?
Yeah, I would say I also relatively quickly made my peace with doing e-commerce. I would say I'm always the innovation guy. And back then, I wanted to build software and to create something the world hasn't seen before. And just doing picture cards, which is a thing that we brought into the 21st century, that didn't seem innovative enough back then. And secondly, what was also always very important for me is this mission-driven aspect. I'm sure I like the word idealism. It just seems obvious to me. As an entrepreneur, you have a certain responsibility to make your contribution in a way. And for me, that has always been the mental health space, more broadly education, but I think basically helping people to have a strong foundation to then solve the problems of life in a way. And that foundation to me is mental health.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And this is also why you started your coaching trainings. I think you already started it in 2014, something like that.
Yeah, my first education as a trainer was as part of this student NGO, a 14-day train the trainer program where, you learn the hard craft of training session design, but of course also did lots of work on yourself, going through an MBTI 2-day session, like working on your own personality, realizing, other people have different preferences than me. That sort of stuff.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that is interesting that your first seminar was a train the trainer seminar. And now again, we are getting there, that we are training trainers, right? So basically what I'm doing is I try to fit different pieces together. Sometimes that works very well. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, at least we have some clues. It's only clues yet, but there is, what I'm hearing is that you have this strong wish to explore and to innovate. I will have a question about that later, how that corresponds to how your new role is designed. Just, transferring knowledge, being, like thinking about a didactical point of view, how you could design really sessions to bring messages across. I think that is something that you worked on since 2014, if I got you right.
Yeah, exactly. Back then, facilitating lots of training sessions. So this classic semi-circle with 16 people in the room, talking about group dynamics, leadership, etc.
Okay, great. And so if you describe your role today in metaFox, what is your role today and how should it shift? Because this is what I understood, right? There is some tension around this new role. There is a certain hesitancy to call yourself trainer or to call yourself coach. So please let me know, where are you now and where are you heading in your role?
Yeah, it's funny. Like last night, you made me reflect on what did I actually do in this space. And yeah, I was able to actually write down quite a list of coach training that I did throughout the years. And at the same time, if you would ask me today, I wouldn't consider myself primarily a coach. Of course, I did lots of certifications, but I'm not earning my money with coaching. I consider myself a product developer, if you want to put it down on a craft level. And yeah, and I think that's in a way this shift actually throughout the last 2 years already. In early 2024, we started designing training programs, first online, and now more recently also for the 3-day certification program that we ran in Singapore with Max as a facilitator. But that process also enabled me to go back. Yeah, actually, do you know what we could do here with combining the strengths card and the picture cards and then timeline work from NLP? We could come up with this and that format. So that brought me back in a way. And of course, I also try to live coaching skills in my day-to-day work as a leader, or also here and there in informal coaching sessions. But my identity is not the one of a coach. And that is also a bit where this imposter syndrome comes from, that I said I want to work on with you. Like now positioning myself as a coach trainer. Can I do that actually? Am I allowed to do that in a way? That's the question actually that's blocking me in my mind, I guess.
Yeah. We are getting into what happens in your inner world in a second. Before, I want to understand a little bit more, what is really your role in the outside world? So is the idea that you are actually going from being a product guy to being a trainer? Like how much time of your time should that entail? Yeah. What is visible for the outside world, how your role shifts? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, there's two parts in my chest. Because on the one hand, I wouldn't say I want to become this full-time coach like Julika, but I still want to be a founder who sets up the infrastructure to make that happen and who develops products, who now builds software, who comes up with these training programs, who also facilitates these training programs, who occasionally does coaching, all these different things. And of course, I would love to get that across and have that nuance. But I also know that it's overwhelming for people and they cannot trust me with any of these roles if I just throw all of them at once at them. So I think to really make that shift stick, I think probably it's time to actually emphasize this coach trainer role or an expert in working on emotions, strengths, values with the products of metaFox. And I'm the guy who can help you to master that for your own coaching practice.
And metaFox mission is supporting somehow the mental health market.
Yeah, a world embracing emotional intelligence. That's the world we're working towards. That's our vision. And we are doing that. A world embracing emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And we want to achieve that vision by empowering coaches through easy to use and beautifully designed tools. And when we say experiences, what we have in mind is these training programs that are very heavy on actually experiencing the work with these tools.
Which enable the coaches then themselves to create the same experiences for their coachees, right?
Exactly.
So first of all, congrats to this mission and vision statement. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay. And so please tell me again why you think that the different roles that you just mentioned, why that is confusing for people, because they are all very well matching this vision and mission, don't they?
Yeah, I would say that they're all derived from this vision and mission. And we believe, okay, a coach works in person, so they need these cards. A coach sometimes works online, so they need also an online environment where they can use these products. And in order to do that, we believe they can benefit from our training offer.
And tell me again, please, what roles do you see in yourself? There is this product development guy, the probably founder, business, data guy.
Yeah.
Who else is within you?
Yeah, so we work internally with this traction model, which is kind of a company role model. And there, my role is the one of the visionary. So I'm the one who is close to our customers, talks a lot with our customers, and keeps us focused on this people development, mental health mission. And when it comes to craft, yeah, on the one hand, the product guy, maybe the ambassador, the podcast host, and the trainer. And that last part, the coach trainer, that is where, for example, Max has much less inner blocks than me when it comes to just saying, okay, I'm the guy who now teaches you how to do this.
And is there also some identity question attached to it? Like, I don't want to be the one having 1,000 coaching certificates, but not being able to coach, or not leaving that field completely to Max?
Yeah, already starting this podcast a year ago was overcoming some sort of identity question. What I really enjoy about the podcast and what I don't enjoy, for example, about recording shorts to give small knowledge nuggets, value nuggets on how to use our products, is that I really enjoy this depth in relationships, depth when it comes to conveying concepts, theories. And a podcast format is where you also have this stretch of a half hour, 2 hour conversation. And you have that less when it comes to recording shorts and posting them on YouTube or something, you know?
Totally get it.
I don't have an identity issue with being a coach or a trainer, but I have an identity issue with throwing out this content and saying, oh, look, guys, I'm the guy. That's sort of where my mental obstacle is.
So the coaching and training could be somewhat a counterbalance to the a little bit less deep things that you need to do to market your product. Is that also what I'm hearing? That there needs to be like a counterbalance?
Yeah, now that we speak about it, it becomes quite clear to me that it's not a problem or an issue that I have with our offering and delivering that offering. It's a marketing problem, is sort of being that the guy who goes in front of the camera and says, look, guys, you do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. Yeah.
Okay, that is now very important. And I think I want to pick that topic because I feel like there is some tension. Is that okay?
Yeah,
that we
let's go
into that? Okay. What does it do to you when you're imagining yourself being on the camera, doing this 1, 2, 3 thing? What images, feelings, what comes up for you?
Yeah, it doesn't feel authentic in a way, because I'm happy to do the step 1, step 2, step 3. And I've always been doing that, actually, like starting at school when helping other people with their math homework or whatever. But still, I have this sort of notion of inadequacy, or especially in the coaching world, I don't know, not having a psychology degree, for example. So what would a psychologist who's doing that sort of work since 20 years think when I am coming now and say, look, this is how you work with picture cards? That is the fear of being seen as a fraud, or as a, I don't know, of not being seen as competent.
Interesting. And what picture do you have yourself when you are thinking of the value that your picture cards bring to the actual coaching business? I can imagine that you are quite convinced of what it can do, aren't you?
Yeah, it's quite amazing. Like, whenever we hear from people, and also when we use it ourselves, when we basically step into our customers' shoes and use the products, the closeness you can create, and also the revelations, the new perspective that you can bring to an issue of a client is really amazing. Yeah, I don't have an issue there, actually.
So what is it? Is it the other people in the market seeing you like doing your 1, 2, 3 thing? When I'm hearing you speaking about this lack of authenticity, I'm wondering whether there is something in it. You know, oftentimes coaches think that in selling there is something dirty. There is something dirty, like also narrowing it down or making it so, oh, it's so easy. And, you know, it's not easy. It needs a whole story around. So it feels like lying to people. Is that something that is in it too?
Yeah, which is odd because I worked a lot in sales, business development, pre-metaFox. And yeah, I'm not naive, but still, yeah, putting my face on it, still I have some issues apparently.
Yeah. So the way I work with that, because I am not a mindset coach in itself, but what I'm doing then normally is really try to pinpoint where is the friction. So where between you're happy with your product, you're proud of what you created, to I do a 10-second short and it feels like lying or doing odd stuff? Where is the friction happening?
I think the difference comes from who do I believe is listening to me? And that's actually a very interesting one, like a new realization that you prompted there, because, I worked in the energy sector where I was the somewhat engineering guy, always bridging between engineering and sales, a business world and the technical world. But I was in this environment where basically I would do my NLP coach training in the weekend. And then on Monday, I would go to the coffee kitchen with a bunch of guys working in the energy sector, cool people who are committed to renewable energy transition, but they really couldn't make anything of what I was telling from this coaching world. And I can feel authentic in both of these environments, but the idea of my engineering network, seeing myself talking about psychology, I think that's where this cringe, odd feeling comes from. I feel very comfortable in a coaching setting. I feel very comfortable in this training setting, facilitating these experiences. But I think it's the idea of posting a short that then is seen by both the psychology world and the engineering world that somehow I have an issue.
Interesting. And is there something in it like that? What is the worst thing that the engineering world could think about you that frightens you?
I think I'm afraid they wouldn't get it. They would find it weird, but maybe also, this aspect of why is he doing it? Yeah, they wouldn't get me. That is in a way what I'm afraid of. Yeah.
Is it? I make a suggestion, okay?
Yes.
Can resonate or cannot. Because I think okay, they don't get why I'm doing this. For me, that doesn't have yet much power. That for me personally is not yet very much anxiety inducing. But if I think they might think, how on earth, like you switched topics a bit, right? You switch from being the engineering guy to being the coaching guy, and now they see you in a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
And thinking that they might think that you are pretending or that you are not able to do what you're doing, because how on earth can he be a good engineer and then also a coach? Something like that?
Exactly,
Is
yeah.
that...
I think it's this fear of being perceived as not competent in a way.
But interestingly, you are more afraid of the engineering guys who are not able to understand what you're doing. You are not so much afraid of the coaches and psychologists, or both of them.
Oh yeah, I would say interestingly, I feel very at home in both worlds when they don't collide,
Yeah, okay. But that means you are afraid of both judgments, or you're more afraid of the engineering judgments?
Yeah, so I think with the engineers, it's sort of, or engineers, the energy industry, let's say, it's the weirdness. And with the coaches, I would say it's like this classic imposter syndrome. Okay, this guy didn't even study psychology. How can he know anything about that?
So what I'm hearing is that you are like a third party thing. You are not belonging neither to the one world nor to the other. And you especially are not allowed to say that you have some sort of expertise or, so the question is, why am I allowed to speak in this domain when, one, I'm actually a product guy, so perhaps I should have never walked in the other room. And two, now that I'm in the other room with the coaches and psychologists, they will understand that I'm a fraud and that I'm not as good as I need to be in order to be able to sell them stuff.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and not all of this is entirely new. And I already did some steps, like my current LinkedIn headline is turning emotional education into tools that coaches use to change lives, which for me encompasses both of these bits, like this engineering skill of structuring a concept, a process, turning it into something repeatable, turning it into a tool, and putting that out into the psychology world. So I think that's where this feels very authentic to me, because that's also where I believe I can bring in that value from both worlds. Yeah, and then I think the next step, and that's sort of the challenge that we started out with, is seeing myself and being seen more as a practitioner, also as a coach.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I can see now after this discussion how maybe if this like house is built on two pillars, the quote unquote product engineering pillar and the coaching pillar, that maybe the coaching pillar is still a little weak. It's not completely missing because obviously you have tons of experience in getting certificates and also in just working with these topics. but that you are lacking a little bit of practice in this field, at least lets you feel like there is something missing, and that decreases your allowedness to speak about that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's
Yeah.
also touching on an interesting point. It's not another certificate that I need. And I think that's also what I say. These coaches always think they need another education. And where I also realized, like a few days ago, I talked with Kirsten Dierolf, a previous guest also here on the podcast, and basically asking her, which program of yours would you recommend to me in that situation? And we ended up like by her saying, how about you just record a coaching conversation and we do a supervision session rather than you doing another education? Because I think we also got to this point where it's okay, it's actually like my felt inadequacy doesn't come from lacking coach education, but comes from lacking practice.
And is there a way for you to get this practice?
Yeah, for sure. Just yesterday, a business contact, let's say, texted me and yeah, that he's struggling. We met for a spontaneous, quite formal coaching session, I would say, where I really, yeah, with the solution-focused coaching approach of that I learned from Kirsten. Yeah, so there's occasions here and there. And I think the question is just where then also Tobi, the entrepreneur, says, does it make sense to start another business unit in my life of now being a practicing coach, actually asking for money for that? Yeah, and I think that's maybe a question I need to fiddle with, like how, to what extent to go into that, knowing, and then do I go into that for the coaching business sake, or rather for this, okay, to make me more competent in the coach trainer role and to make me more confident in the coach product developer role? This simply is a learning area. I think that's the way how I would phrase it right now.
Yeah, if I look at it, I would also say, I would even put a number on it. Like, how many sessions do you think you need until you feel sufficiently confident? And this can be 5, this can be 10, this can be 20, 25, but then there is a like full stop. And then you take out of these sessions what you need, and then you are done with that pillar. Yeah. And I think we went a little bit sideways in this conversation, and we bring this demo to a close in a second. But what I would recommend now is really looking at what you have written down, because this practice, this is something that you need to get. This is nothing that any certificate can give you. But at the same time, I saw how many certificates you have and how much your professional journey really supports also this new role. Yeah, with all the things that you did with the NGO and other steps on your journey, for me, it really felt like this all can really very well add up to this new role. And I also would conceptualize the role really only as part of your founder role, because I feel your mission statement is really, really strong. And I wouldn't try to go further down and say, okay, now I'm the trainer. No, you are the founder, and the founder supports the mission statement, and you have different sub roles. And one is you are doing the business analysis, one is you are doing the product development, and one is also facilitating trainings in order to fulfill your mission. Then that somewhat draw a picture of you in this trainer facilitator role with all the things that you just wrote down yesterday. I think that would be like the next step.
Yeah, thank you. That's also reassuring to hear in a way that even from your marketing consultant perspective, I don't have to give up any of these hats in a way, because that would also feel inauthentic.
Absolutely. And so for me, normally I'm thinking visually, and if we work together in a room, then I would draw on a flip chart. And so for me, just to tell you, I have this bubble on top, and this is like the founder role. And then besides the founder role, I would write your mission statement, which is amazing. And this matches. This is the founder's role mission statement. And then you have like mind map wise, you have this, okay, business, product, ambassador, trainer, facilitator. And the ambassador does the podcast, and the trainer facilitator flies to Singapore all 6 months or so, and then you can fill this all up. And like roadmap wise, I always try to give my coachees a roadmap. In the end, I would say, okay, do the practice, the coaching practice, set your number of sessions that you want to do, maybe do some supervision with it. What do you need in order to take the most out of it, in order to boost your confidence? But then really try to see what steps do you need to take in order to also get more practice in the trainer facilitator field, because this is the actual goal where you are trying to build your pillar strongly.
Yeah, thanks. This totally didn't go as I expected it to go, but it was still quite useful.
Me neither.
But maybe to give also me and also the audience a glimpse of how would it look like now if we continued on this path now. So you provided me with my business hub, which is this set of Google Docs. And yesterday, you prompted me basically with a set of questions to think about my vision and goal. And you also prompted me to think about who I am, what makes me unique, list like my certifications, experience, etc. What do other people say about me? And that's what we didn't discuss today, but that was the foundation of our conversation today, I felt. And how would that path now continue if we said, okay, now join you on this journey from Hell Island to Heaven Island? How would that further continue?
Yeah, as we said, it was a little bit more atypical than probably we both expected. But let's say you really want to create your coaching business as a side hustle. And we want to know, how do you position yourself as a coach, and how do you make money with that? Then I would really go through this vision and goal sheet with you. I put some comments yesterday, so perhaps we can go again there. Exactly. And normally I would go more into detail with my questions, with what you provided me. And we create really an end goal for the 6-12 month period, or even 3 years. Normally we have things there. I want that my website is ready, and I want to have my first 5 to 10 paying clients in the next six months, something like that. That could be a goal. And then we move on to the expert profile. As you said, there is the things that are in bold here, basically. And we go through this, and normally when I'm reading this, I already have some questions, some clues where I think, oh, okay, that is an interesting combination. I have ideas of where we are heading to check them with my coachee. Am I going in the right direction with my ideas where we are heading in terms of target group, in terms of problem that we're solving, etc. And then I create something that you see on output here. Exactly. This is free now because I didn't do it yet, but we are expert profile. And normally after the first or second session already, I have something like a claim in mind. That is nothing that needs to be on a website, but it helps like a North Star to know, okay, this is where we are going. I describe a little bit context and identity, what is the vision, but also the intention and the problem understanding. So what is actually the thing that the coach wants to change? What is the inner drive to change something? Yeah, I fill this out. These are in the end 3 to 5 pages. And this is the basis for everything else that we are doing. We have an understanding why this person is great and why the world needs their services. Very empowering situation for them. And then we're doing the positioning, the target group, the problem. Then we're doing the offer creation, what we just explained in depth in the last episode. And the visibility is about what channels do I want to be visible in, what is my tonality, what doesn't feel salesy, what does feel salesy. So it's really about becoming visible in an authentic and aligned way. And then also creating like a funnel structure, can be a very simple funnel structure, but what is the process of people who don't know me today to who buy from me, maybe also a very pricey product. And there are certain steps that we need to go through. Somebody is ready to buy, for example, a 3,000 euro coaching package from you. And that is what we are creating all in this business hub.
Okay, yeah. So we work on becoming clear about the transformation that my client would be going through. How does his journey look like? Then how can I be visible, and what are the concrete milestones on that, on my journey as a coach and working on my offer and positioning.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And this is for me very important. So I don't let my coachees just let them stand there alone. So we create this roadmap that really helps them bring the things into reality, and also something like a test client strategy that I mentioned in the previous episode as well. So my clients, when we're finished with the work together, oftentimes have their first paying clients and are very confident for the path forward.
Yeah, so they have resolved all that inner jungle and blockage that we gave you an insight today for me personally. And then they also have clarity about what does it now concrete mean? Like what's the copy for my website and how do I price that package, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And also what services do I maybe need? What should I do? They can ask me all that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like how your program is in a way directive and the different tabs of this business hub basically guide me through my own journey as a coach from Hell Island. I don't know how to talk about myself to Heaven Island. I'm super clear and clients immediately get me. Yeah, and I like it because it's so simple in terms of infrastructure. And at the same time, yeah, it looks having the emojis and has a bit the self-guided element. Like I'm even thinking, couldn't you now take that and build a self-guided online course where I as a coach can go through this without booking the 3,000 euro coaching package with Julika, but rather the 100 euro online program? How do you see that?
Interesting. So this is for the next episode when you're coaching me again, how to build a product around what I created. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Curious how that also evolves then. And yeah, I have a small question that I think we can use to close that my previous guest, Lucy Higgins, left for you without knowing that it would be you, obviously. And her question was, what would you change about the coaching industry?
Obviously there is this discussion if coaching should be like not free for everybody, like in the sense that you need certain certificates in order to do coaching. I'm not sure if that's a good way to go forward, because I know many coaches who perhaps would not have that certificate and are still bringing immense value to people. Perhaps one thing, maybe it's not so much the industry, but for every coach themselves, I would really bring the question to the center. What is the value that I'm creating for my clients? So going away from I'm selling only sessions to really be more aware of what is the value, what clients do I serve, and how can I really help them move forward.
So bringing us back to the question that I also asked you on our last session, does this value equation also apply to non-directive coaching? And your answer is yes, it should actually. And that's one thing you would.
And me personally, also, this is my answer from a coachee perspective. I felt that there are many coaches who start with a very well analysis in the beginning, but then they lose track of it over time. And nobody remembers anymore what was the actual reason why I started the coaching in the first place. And that is something that I really would want to change.
Yeah. So in a way, that's also the question I hear you would leave our audience with. In my role as a coach, what value do I bring to my clients?
Which clients do I serve and what value do I bring to them?
Yeah.
And is that value relevant to my client? It's because sometimes coaches think, oh, that is really great he needs that. And probably he does. But the question is, does he realizes it and is he willing to pay for it?
Cool. Thank you so much. Amazing. Then I say thank you so much, Julika. Maybe one question I still have for you. If I am a coach and now I say, this business hub that looked really cool, how can I find you and get started working with you?
Yeah, so you find me on LinkedIn and on my website. So it's just Julika Franke on LinkedIn, and as well my website is julikafranke.de, but I am sure we will link that in the show notes as well. And so people can find me there. Just shoot me a text and we will find a date for a first conversation, completely non-binding, just to get to know each other. And then we will see if I can help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is it. So cool you made it to the end of this somewhat unusual episode. And if you're actually curious now about Julika's Business Hub, then get your own by simply getting in touch with Julika. You can follow her work on LinkedIn or, of course, learn more about her on her website, both linked in the show notes. And if you're curious for this new metaFox certification program that I've been talking about on the episode, you can also get in touch. Of course, you can participate next year or this year. We are planning events in Singapore, Germany, and in the UK. But you can also co-shape the program, help recruit participants, or be there for the community as a business partner. If any of this sounds interesting, email me on tobias@metafox.eu or join our community on metafox.eu/community. That's it for today. We will be back here as usual in 2 weeks. I'm Tobi from metaFox, and I say all the best with your own brand positioning, your own making of a coach. Cheers.
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.